Hello, good morning or good afternoon everyone, wherever you are joining us from today. My name is Damien Crowe. I'm the co-founder and executive chairman at prefabAUS. prefabAUS is the peak body for prefabricated building in Australia, which was established in 2013. We represent the prefabricated and smart building industry and our many members throughout Australia and internationally. I would like to acknowledge our key partners. They are BlueScope, Cbus, James Hardie, Commonwealth Bank, Dulux Industrial Coatings, Foundation Technologies Australia, Fleetwood Australia and Multipanel, and especially important today, Autodesk. I will go into our relationship with Autodesk in just a minute, but before proceeding further, I'd like to also acknowledge that we are broadcasting to you today from the lands of the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people. We acknowledge them as the traditional custodians on the land and pay respect to all Aboriginal people past and present and any Aboriginal people joining us today or watching this recording in the future. Today we are here with one of our fantastic partners, Autodesk. Autodesk joined us in 2024 to support the Autodesk Challenge Cup, a university-based team challenge for students in the architectural, engineering and construction management disciplines to leverage the unique value proposition of prefabricated and modular offsite construction. Without Autodesk, we could not run this annual event, so I'd like to thank them for their support. So joining me here today in the studio, we have Daniel Noviello, Customer Adoption Specialist in Form Design at Autodesk. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks, Damien.
And Lawrence Robinson, Director of Brand Architects and Head Judge for 6 years now of the Autodesk Challenge Cup. Thank you for joining us, Lawrence, and I'll hand over to you for an overview of the 2026 challenge.
Thanks, Damien. Another great response this year. So this year we set a unique challenge for the teams. They had a single site to work with, which was located in an Indigenous community in Western Australia, in Derby. The teams were provided with a community profile, lot sizes and layouts, and had an opportunity to ask questions of the Indigenous community members about the design and what they would like to see. The teams then had to go away and design a response to the challenge for a housing solution that would respond to cultural, environmental and social needs of the community. As always, we look for a great response in terms of prefabrication, as well as a multidisciplinary approach to the design. And all of the entries exhibited these in different ways. So I'll hand back to you, Damien.
All right. Daniel?
Okay. Thanks, Lawrence. Well, look, very exciting. Without further ado, let's begin hearing from the finalists. So joining us today, we have Puneet, representing KinForge team from Western Sydney University. We have Mackie, representing Stable Sands Studio from Curtin University. And we have Asif, representing Horizon Studio, also from Curtin University. Now, after each person is presented, we'll have 5 minutes available for questions. And if anyone in the audience has a question, feel free to put that in the chat and we'll endeavor to answer as many as we possibly can. Now, Puneet, congratulations on becoming a finalist. Let's hear from your team about your project.
Welcome to Confluence Living. Imagine a place where country guides design, culture shapes community, and technology enables a more sustainable future. Confluence Living is an Indigenous-led, climate-responsive neighbourhood for Derby, Western Australia. Built out of one simple idea: one kit of parts, two sites, multiple outcomes. Through modular design, digital engineering, and modern methods of construction, we've created a scalable housing solution that is resilient, culturally responsive, and adaptable to future community needs. Confluence Living isn't just inspired by great projects around the world. It begins by listening to the Derby community through Victor's story and understanding what people truly need. We then combine those local aspirations with lessons from Francis Keary's community-centered architecture, the collaborative spaces of the Rolex Learning Centre, and the climate-responsive design of Terra, Expo City Dubai, creating a neighbourhood that is culturally meaningful, resilient, and built for the future. Confluence Living transforms community aspirations into a practical design solution. Our approach first begins with understanding Derby's climate, culture, and community needs. then configuring flexible spaces for different family structures, creating places that bring people together, integrating smart construction and local materials, and finally adapting through a modular kit of parts system. Our design follows a simple kit of parts logic. Standardized assemblies come together to form adaptable homes, and those homes are organized into connected community hubs. This creates a flexible system that can grow with the community. Our kit of parts system creates a complete neighborhood through a simple hierarchy. We developed 4 functional hubs: residential, cultural, commercial, and educational. Within these hubs, we designed 9 different building types. These include 3 housing typologies and a range of community facilities, such as the pavilion, art gallery, education center, retail spaces, and supermarket. All of these are assembled from a shared library of standardized components, allowing both sides to be delivered efficiently while responding to different community needs. Listening to the community showed us that one house type wasn't enough. We created 3 housing typologies: a multi-generational family home, a flexible home for smaller households and essential workers, and a clustered home with shared living spaces for extended families. Together they reflect the diverse ways people live in Derby. Let's take a closer look at house type 1, designed for multi-generational living. Using our kit of parts system, standardized wall, roof, and floor components are assembled into a flexible home that can be built efficiently. The central open courtyard improves natural ventilation, daylight, and family interaction, creating a comfortable home that reflects the way extended families live in Derby. To improve comfort and energy efficiency, we developed automated CLT louvers using Rhino, Grasshopper, Revit, and Autodesk Forma. Light and temperature sensors continuously adjust the louvers throughout the day, blocking excessive heat, maximizing natural daylight, and providing natural nighttime ventilation. This creates a smarter, more comfortable home. Sustainability is integrated into every part of house type 1. Elevated floors, deep shaded verandas, natural ventilation, high performance wall systems, and solar energy work together to improve comfort and reduce environmental impact. Using Autodesk Forma Carbon Insights, we also optimize the design to lower embodied carbon while also creating a home that responds to Derby's climate. We used a BIM integrated structural workflow, transferring our Revit model directly into Autodesk Robot Structural Analysis. This allowed us to test the building under real loading conditions, optimize the structure, and ensure it is safe, efficient, and ready for construction. To support construction and coordination, we developed a federated BIM model at LOD 300, integrating mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services. Using Autodesk Revit and Navisworks, we coordinated all disciplines, resolved clashes before construction, and delivered an efficient, buildable, and fully coordinated MEP design. Our work extends beyond housing to the entire site infrastructure. We optimized earthworks to minimize cut and fill, designed roads and stormwater systems, and verified emergency vehicle access using vehicle tracking. Rather than resisting nature, Confluence Living works with it. We use prevailing winds for natural ventilation and renewable energy, while integrated bioswales, infiltration tanks, and rainwater harvesting manage stormwater and reduce flood risk. These systems create a climate-responsive neighborhood that is both resilient and environmentally sustainable. At the heart of Confluence Living are our gathering grounds, spaces designed to celebrate Derby's Indigenous identity and strengthen community connections. The First Peoples Story Garden, Canopy Park, and Ripple Pavilion create places for storytelling, learning, festivals, and everyday gathering. Inspired by local culture and nature, these spaces were designed using a parametric modular system, making them both culturally meaningful and efficient to construct. Our proposal goes beyond design by delivering a complete construction strategy. Through a temporary local factory, standardized assemblies are manufactured using local materials and suppliers, then assembled on site into homes and community hubs. This approach reduces transport, construction time, carbon emissions, and waste, while creating local jobs and supporting Derby's economy. Confluence Living was delivered through a fully connected digital collaboration platform. Autodesk Forma, Board, and Cloud Data Management enabled our entire team to collaborate in real time. Finally, our appendices provide the complete kit of parts library for every building in the project. Each assembly, wall, roof, floor, and structural component is documented with digital models and QR codes, creating a standardized reusable system that supports manufacturing, assembly, future maintenance, and scalability across both sites.
Some questions to the team.
So Puneet, great presentation there, and really impressed with the approach you took with the use of the Autodesk products and looking at a range of different aspects of the design. I'd like to know a little bit more about why you chose to go with the two-storey approach and how you think the upper level of your houses would be used by the local community.
Okay, so the two-story approach was especially after listening to Victor's story that the houses often get overcrowded with extended families and visiting guests and relatives. So the ground floor maintained its normal routine. The rooftop on the above is a place for gathering. We understand the importance of social gathering in Derby community. So it's for knowledge sharing, not just for recreation, but also connecting people together. So that's why we approached two-story.
Great, thanks.
Well done. I'd like to learn a little bit more about why you selected the kit of parts approach to the design and that form of prefabricated technology for the delivery.
Okay, so we first started by designing a 4-bedroom house, and then as a team we discussed why not use the same wall panels to create a 2-bedroom house. So that's how we developed a kit of part approach, because we wanted to provide scalable and adaptable options that could cater to everyone, not just a segment of population. So kit of part approach is a 3-tier hierarchy: assembly, building, and hub, inspired by NSW school infrastructure framework. So assembly is a standardized catalog of wall panels, roof floor modules, and other outdoor elements. Combination of these assemblies is buildings. So we propose 9 different building types, including 3 housing typologies. Cluster of these buildings is a hub. We propose 4 hubs: residential, commercial, cultural, and educational. So all these kit of parts approach is so that people of Derby can have options, can customize, and it's not just providing prefabricated elements to be connected on site. Kit of part approach, it encourages participation of local community. It aligns with the design principles of compress, connect, and control. Compress meaning build only what is essential. So we provide a standardized catalog of elements. Connect is we connect with local suppliers and local community, and they decide how they want to build. And control is the spaces are not defined, so it's defined by its users.
Oh, fantastic. And so just to go a little bit further to that, did you engage with the local supply chain to see how the local businesses could be engaged to support this approach?
We did some desktop research on it. We didn't actually engage, but so what our delivery chain or delivery plan is that once we have a coordinated federated BIM model ready, we would supply that to manufacturers in Perth. They would only create timber and steel frames, which would be transported to Derby. We plan to set up a temporary factory in Derby, which rest of the construction process would carry out. We liaise with local suppliers, local earthwork contractors to produce laterite blocks for cladding. We also propose to produce insulation on the country using agricultural sorghum waste. So, and then also the construction waste on site, we plan to hire local community, get and then use the construction waste to create organic shading. So our kit of part approach gives a huge importance on liaising with local community and local suppliers.
Well done.
Great stuff. Thanks, Puneet. Great to see the range of tools and technologies used in that project as well. Okay, moving on. Maki, Congratulations on becoming a finalist. Let's hear from your team.
Hello, thank you very much.
Hello everyone, this is back to back.
Apologies, I had a bit of a household
Are we?
accident with my pet.
Is he paused?
But I'm very happy to present Stable Sand Studios' work called Back to Back, Kinship Responsive Community Housing for Derby, Western Australia. I understand that we're playing my video, but I'm also happy to present live.
Can you just say something?
Yeah, we're playing your video now. Thanks, Mackie.
Hello everyone, this is back to back, a kinship responsive community housing model for Derby, Western Australia.
Can we see it?
Can you grab the laptop?
This is an Indigenous-led housing community
Is the video
master plan aimed at proposing culturally grounded housing solutions using sustainable building technologies and construction methods for regional Australia. The brief calls for housing that's affordable, rapid, and genuinely responsive to community. For a First Nations town, that can mean a standard home with decoration added, so every decision here, plan, material, structure, flows from one cultural logic. And that logic is what is called a jigal, a Kimberley protocol where a son-in-law and a mother-in-law will avoid direct contact out of respect and not out of shame. It's how large household functions harmoniously when visiting kin, staying long-term. A standard home with one door and open living makes that very hard to observe. So we have to start, we've started with not with the floor plan, but with that relationship. The answer is two equal wings joined by a shared spine. The core family's wing and the visiting law's wing each get their own entry deck and living space, so a mother-in-law can stay with dignity, not tucked into a lesser granny flat. The spine between them is shaded and ventilated, close but not face-to-face. That logic scales out. Each housing group gets 2 circulation paths and multiple entry points, all leading to shared yarding circles and community nodes. So the same protocol holds even in busy public space. We kept the site's existing footpaths and planned the whole layout to grow over time. Shared ground sits at the center, yarding circles, barbecue nodes, and an adaptable polytunnel garden that flexes with the Kimberley seasons, supporting farming and gathering all year round. It's public space that's shaped around how the community already moves and meets. The house is built almost entirely from neem timber, an invasive species already being removed from around Derby under a biosecurity program. Instead of trucking timber thousands of kilometers away, we mill that removed timber on site into framing and decking. A land management obligation becomes the building's material supply chain. Everything is designed for off-site manufacture. Transportable 4x16 meter walls, floors, and roof modules are built in a regional prefabrication hub with services fitted before they can reach site. Only footings and final assembly happen in Derby, taking one dwelling from 6 months down to 10 to 12 weeks. Structurally, it's a lightweighted, elevated timber platform on isolated concrete footings, chosen because it prefabricates cleanly, resists Derby's cyclonic wind loads with continuous tie-down strapping, and keeps the undercroft open so floodwater passes straight underneath. Passive design comes first: cross ventilation, deep shading, and a ventilated roof cavity reduce reliance on air conditioning before any technology is added. The floor sits clear of flood level, and every dwelling is pre-wired for solar and battery storage. Services follow the same logic. Bathrooms and kitchens arrive pre-plumbed and pressure tested. Wiring is pre-installed in wall and ceiling panels and on-site. Trades simply make final connections. None of this works from architecture alone. It took structural sustainability and cultural expertise working as one team, and it's costed to prove it around $450 to $580,000 per dwelling, with the first 13 homes feasible within 4.4 to 6.9 million. Thank you.
Welcome back, and now to some questions.
So thanks, Mackie. That was a great presentation. I'm really interested to hear about how or what you learnt from the Indigenous owners during the workshop that informed your design, apart from the kinship. So certainly things around site layout and overall building arrangement, if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the workshops were the starting point. Sorry, I was hearing my anyway. The workshops was always the starting point because Aboriginal housing has always failed in a sense that so far it's been gentrified with the types of housing that the government has given the First Nations people, especially around Broome. I've been to Fitzroy Crossing. I've been to Derby myself. I've been to Broome, and it doesn't work because the intergenerational household is very unique for them because one, the nuclear family, as they grow up, the grandparents move seasonally, depending on they move from one side to the other every few weeks or so. And of course, the Jigal is one that we don't expect from a Western standpoint. And it is actually a hierarchy and a principle of respect. The managing expectations and managing conflicts is one that is very important for such a big household of 5 to 8 people. So we knew that we had to start there, and we had to tackle it from a social perspective and actually translate the architecture to, answer to that and to actually directly support that kind of living, which obviously we're not that familiar of right now. But I think this is a good start for a conversation in the future that, for such a big part of Western Australia, for example, Derby is such a good example because the First Nations people, they prefer this kind of living, and currently we don't have that. And this site is a good example because there's already these corridors that you can see even from an aerial perspective that they already use to penetrate through the sides. I mean, there's a radio station, but to get around the area, there's already established corridors. And if you were to place a community, or a community around it, it would be good to create a corridor that would help that, support that already existing framework and actually officialize it and place the housing and the community around it in groups in a way that, again, in one of my earlier sketches, I was showing how it's very unique because their First Nations culture is one of deep respect and hierarchy, but at the same time they like to gather a lot. So it's such a unique challenge from at least my perspective, because how do you keep that kind of hierarchy in mind while still allowing a community to happen in the middle? And I think one of the best ways to do it is to actually think of it as a literal back-to-back, a jigal relationship. So you have two entrances facing, coming from opposite sides, and you actually have them completely separately. The housing is completely separate in that the granny flat as we call it, right? There's only one way to go to that side of the house, and the main nuclear family is open and directly facing that node, that social node, which in my design, for example, I've proposed to be the yarning circle in every cluster, I guess. And at the back, there's still these additional pathways that meanders through and carefully avoids direct interaction and sight through screens, through planting, through vegetation, and we need to. I think we need to approach this very carefully because we also want them to feel like their path to that community is still valued. So it's not a back door per se. It's actually a whole separate entrance that has its own separate experience in a pedestrian point of view.
I think
Although
well
while
done in
the
incorporating that cultural
thank you.
significance into the design. I think that's fantastic to really be able to engage with the community and embed those cultural learnings into what you've produced. So well done. Daniel, did you have a question?
Yeah, great work there, Mackie. I'm kind of curious, sort of at a high level, what are some of the DFMA or design for manufacture and assembly considerations that went into this? You know, what were some of those, I guess, the most important ones for you and your team?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. So that was actually part of the challenge that I thought was a good way to integrate in this kind of community housing challenge. Because analyzing the site, that we already see that there's a lot of neem trees in the sites and throughout Derby as well. And although trees are trees, they're as valid as any other tree. They are considered as invasive in the natural environment in that particular part of the geography of Australia. So I think the best way to approach this in a sustainable perspective is to somehow manage that aspect of the site, maybe turn it into something that the community housing can actually use. And that has translated in the form of, I guess, demolishing of the neem trees and using those trunks, milling them, cutting them in a separate, being transported into a warehouse, perhaps close to Derby in Broome, or even in Derby if there is any. So instead of, say, importing Jara wood from thousands of kilometers away from the vicinity of Perth, you actually use the neem trees. And there's been studies to say that neem trees are actually a good source of structural timber. And why not use that? And timber framing construction is a lightweight, it's relatively cost-effective way to approach this form of community housing. So the gears start kind of turning with each other, and kind of integrating into this almost perfect design approach where the neem trees are being integrated directly and informing how the community housing can work. So instead of an example is concrete or bricks that, although there's tons of clay in the area,
Right. Thanks.
neem trees seem to just, I think it's turning out to be the most obvious answer when you think it's not directly transparent, but when you start to see these parameters, I felt as though neem trees were kind of slowly becoming clearer and more clear. It's like in a sustainable perspective, in a construction methodology perspective, extracting that repurposing that in a separate factory and putting that back as a form of construction material that cuts down time, that cuts down waste, that cuts down cost, and that cuts down literally the trees in the sites, which we don't want in specifically the neem trees. So that was the main driver. And I think one of the other parameters was just the concrete, ensuring that the floors are above and elevated so that in the case of flood, which has happened in Derby, the housing is actually safe. So you actually elevate the house even a meter and a half above. And you still create, by doing that, you actually create a good experience in an architectural perspective. You have the ground, which is a source of community, which the nodes, the social nodes, and you have the elevated ground, which is the private, which is the housing clusters. So I guess for our team, it's kind of like almost poetic as well, in that sense that these parameters are turning around each other and kind of harmoniously blending in such a simplistic, straightforward,
Thanks,
I guess,
Mackie. That's
design.
great. And Lawrence, do you want to now move on and introduce the next finalist?
Yep, great response there, Mackie. So we might move on to the third team. So Asif, congratulations on becoming a finalist too. We'd now like you to present your team's project.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon, and I hope people can see my slides now.
Can someone say yes? Yes.
Yep, looking good.
All good. Ready to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so today we had the opportunity here for the prefab housing to work in Derby, and me and Cedric, my teammate here, we had the chance to design this here. So from the very beginning, I would like to say this is a great opportunity to work for the indigenous people, because as an immigrant in here, it was really the opportunity just came out of nowhere for me, I would say. Firstly, I would respectfully like to acknowledge the elders and custodians of this land. And definitely this has been a big journey for me, because I had these courses others way around, and during this time I had the chance to learn more about Derby, learn more about this indigenous people. A little brief about the indigenous people around here, and also the Derby here. So Derby is a small town, a small remote town in Kimberley region in northwestern Australia, located in Nuwara and Nikina, surrounded by the tidal landscape of the King Sound. Topologically, this is a site is flat and low-lying, and it has the chances of flooding every now and then, because the tidal variations can rise up to 11.8 meters altogether. And climatically, this is like a hot and typical climate zone, and a distinct wet and dry season. And during the wet season, there is a significant amount of rainfalls as well. Socially, Derby has its strong Aboriginal presence and connection to the country. Community-wise, it's extended family and cultural relations. And in terms of employments in there, I have seen people involved in healthcare, education, government service, tourism, pastoral activities, and particularly cattle farming in there. So in terms of Derby's lifestyle is shaped by country, community, climate, and water. So this is our initial ideas about how this whole situation's going on there, how we can develop an housing over there. So I want to start with the elevated plane approach over there. People have been living there with the tidal force, with the flooding over there. They had to elevate their house, elevate the plane, so that they can survive the flooding over there. So in terms of that, like we raised the platform a little more, like one floor beneath that, so that like it can help for the circulation, it can help for the cooling down, and also it helps out for the prefabrication opportunities as well. Because with the structures and everything, we are already lifting it up. So why not lifting it up all the way to the first floor? For the central part of of our clusters, we designed through a clustered module, so that like we can have like the yearning circle all between the clusters, and every individual cluster have their yearning circle. It will cooperate it with the community kitchen, the connection, and the visual connection as well. And for the floor plans, as you can see, like with the initial sketches, we tried to keep the toilet separation between the mother-in-law and the son-in-law diverse there, so we can actually think about like they can have separation between those times as well. And in terms of living space, because we have seen like this is the extended they have the extended family like connection within everyone, so we kept the living space sort of a semi-private zone, so that like they can open up, they can use it as their extended sleeping facilities over there as well. We have on the ground floor level, as you can see, like we have semi-public community space, semi-public community kitchen, the laundry spaces and everything, and some of the clusters have the parking spaces as well. For the function for the ground floor, we have selected a few options, like for the health sector, for aged care, for preschool, like a departmental store, also cattle farms and admins as well. And the master plan was it was like the segmented lands from the beach around the Derby as well. Like it's in within the site, we try to protect as many trees as we can. And for the sustainability, as you can see, like it helps us with the materials, and with the elevated plane, it helps us to cool down. It helps us for the flooding as well. And we are trying to use the timber as our main structure, which will be locally sourced. The other materials will be transported from here, but we are planning to establish manufacture land over there, so that the people living there can be responsible for the maintenance and maybe expansion for future as well. Next up, for the master plan, as you can see, the derived from the local topographics over there, we try to replicate that and keep as many trees as we can. And as you can see, it's some road networks and pedestrian networks throughout the whole place. And I would like to show a few the facilities we try to provide in there, like as you can see, like the cattle farms at the peripheral area, so that like the outdoors and everything does not come all the way towards the housing sector. The aged care is like the centerpiece of the whole neighborhood there, and so that like everyone can be involved with each other, and they can take care of the elderly people over there. The healthcare, the preschool session, also the stores over there can be more engaging within the whole neighborhood. And this is like the cluster plant. We have like the prefabricated unit. We have like it's a 3.5 by 9 meter prefabricated unit. We would like to do it like a flatbed plain surface, and over the site over when we get there over to the site, we will assemble that all this together, and the timber structure and everything will connect it together, so that like the whole thing beautifully create the cluster we are planning to do. And for the floor plans we have right now, is, as you can see, is like the ground floor will accommodate all the community kitchen, the laundry space, the sitting area, the courtyard for the dining circle, some parking space, bicycle areas, stairs and ramps, and along with the designated function list, like the aged care facilities or the shops or the cattle farms as well. For the first and for the first floor over there, as you can see, is like the 2-bedroom apartment there, but with extendable living space at the front, and a little kitchen space, so that like even if they have their opportunity to work together, to build on time, like cook together and everything, they have the personal space as well. The whole idea, the whole thing we tried to accomplish in here in this housing was so that people can actually communicate, people can actually be more involved with the whole neighborhood. They can be self independent about it. We had a chance to chat with Mr. Victor, who is also an elderly people in from Derby as well. So he gave us the ideas like, so people can be involved with this whole neighborhood's economic situation. So they can be independent, they can be involved, and they can be the person responsible to grow this society to the next level. And in the end, I would like to mention that this whole scenarios, like we had some renders from how the courtiers will work, how the housing society will look from the outside, how the views from the living spaces and the community kitchen. And thank you.
So we'll just jump straight into questions. I'm really interested to hear around the overall site master planning, what insights you got from the workshop with the local Indigenous community.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sorry, in terms of the overall site master planning, what sort of insights did you get from the local community?
For the master planning?
Yes.
I started with these ideas like how the social events or like the social interactions happening there. So I found it like it's sort of nuclear, again, like a connected approach. So I tried to bring everyone together in one place, like so that they have this shared area, shared lounge areas and shared community spaces around the neighborhood as well. So that like whenever they're involved in these socioeconomics activities like the preschool or the aged care or the cattle farming over there, so they can be responsible as well. So they are codependent into to each other as well. And the whole master plan comes together so that like the as you can see is like the centerpiece as the aged care. So and the health facilities right beside it. So this is like, okay, so this is the core area. So all the peoples are coming towards this is more welcoming. And the other areas is like the supporting part as well, like they're doing the stores, they're doing the cattle farming, they're doing the preschoolings as well. So everyone gets involved with this neighborhood, so like they have the reasons to live there, they have the reasons to grow successful together in here. My idea was like to bring them the modernity they need to develop themselves.
Yeah, that's great. And the presentation looks excellent. Can you talk us a little bit through, you know, the methodology around the prefabricated elements and how they can be adopted across the different types of buildings and services throughout the master plan?
So for the prefabricated unit, we tried to like dissect it into the very little pieces. Like we started with just a single unit. So this is how we started, like with the single unit when like just one house plan, and then we started bringing together the cluster plans and how the upper level is working as a living quarter and the ground floor level is working as the sorry about that as the like community functions over there. So we have the community kitchen, we have the aged cares, we have the cattle farming over there. So people are who are responsible there is the people who are living right at the top. And for the units over there, this is mostly like the flat beds. We have like the floor plates there that will be flat bedded, and also the walls. Everything will be transported towards Derby before we have the manufacturing plant established over there. And all the materials that we are trying to do is like to be locally resourced there, so that like any maintenance or anything, so maintenance can be done throughout that. And the idea was like to start training the people who are living there, so that like they can be the people who will be able to do the next expansion or any maintenance from the next. And I've already seen like adjacent site areas as well, like they are also planning to expand in the future if this housing society is really a successful project. So my understanding was like to build something together so that like they can build it by themselves. So that was the whole idea.
It's fantastic looking at the opportunity to engage with the local community for a skills and training opportunity for future, sustainable industry outcomes. Well done.
Yeah, great stuff there, Asif. My question kind of falls a little bit in between both what Lawrence and Damien have asked. So, looking at I guess the master planning, the site design, and then you're looking at the the individual prefab aspects. How did you think about connecting the requirements? What was your use of, I guess, digital tools to be able to have, consistent and smooth requirements and data flow, but at those different scales?
I would say like the whole collaboration was the idea was to like we started with the prefabrication for sure. Like we started with how the housing units will work one by one. But then we decided like how it can be more involved with the people. Like for my understanding, like I have been living here in Australia for last 2 years, and I have a very brief interaction with these people. So my understanding was like they had to give this opportunity so that like they can expose themselves, they can understand like what's going on with their life, how they can be responsible for their life, just not just sitting over there. So I try to understand like, okay, so if they can be responsible with the whole thing, like how this whole housing society is growing up, how this whole preschooling, the other function, the aged care and everything, everyone gets involved with the whole idea. That's how it's all come together. And with the the prefab unit, I would say like this is a very simplified version of construction right now in this all that is getting very popular every now and then. So it can be a good opportunity for them like for them to become more like a builders here, and that can actually help them like grow economically and like be sustainable more in the future.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Asif. I guess, just generally, how do you think the submissions this year have been? Lawrence, I mean, you've been doing this for 6 years now. I think you've seen a lot of these projects, a lot of submissions, and, I think that connection to the cultural significance, the engagement with the local community, I mean, that's been very thorough, and I haven't, it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, I think the brief this year gave some really good opportunities for a very different approach to the competition. In past years, there's been a really strong approach to looking at different ways of doing prefab. I think pulling it back and looking at how it can be much more responsive to a local community was a really interesting thing to see, and seeing some quite complex and nuanced responses from all of the teams, I think, has been really interesting to watch. So
and I think Indigenous housing is not just an Australian challenge, and the engagement and that community input into that, this is something which is has a global outcome, really, doesn't it? Because Indigenous communities all around the world and need culturally significant housing that addresses their needs. So, I mean, for you, how do you see that with it across the globe translating and specifically with design tools?
Yeah, well, I think what's particularly impressive from the presentations we've seen is you're taking very human, qualitative requirements, right, and you're having to translate them into something that's actually technical, and it needs to speak a certain design language and needs to work with the tools that we have, and from everything that we've seen in those presentations, I think the teams have just done a fantastic job of that. And I think whatever your design is, ultimately, it's that translation of requirements into a design. Obviously, we have all these digital tools to help us, but I think I probably just want to emphasize that it comes back down to people, and I'm really seeing that shine through in these designs. So,
and I think for the first time, seeing the cultural significance of what a housing solution might be being translated into a prefabricated housing solution, so that we can really deliver, fast, affordable housing into regions, not only for these communities but potentially for solutions all around the world. So this is fantastic. All right, well, I think any last comments you'd like to share?
Not really. I think it's like I said, it's been a great outcome this year, seeing a very different approach, and be interested to see where it goes into next year's challenge, which we look forward to seeing again.
It has been different, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, we're usually very structured around a very a metropolitan type building model and approach. So yeah, this has been very, very fun to do actually. And Daniel, any last comments from you?
Yeah, again, just congratulations to the finalists. Some incredible projects to see there, and very thoughtful and very, very clever use of the design tools. So yeah.
Well done. All right, now it's time to begin voting for the People's Choice Award. That means that everyone online will have access to a poll. We'll put the names of the teams back up on the screen to refer to, and we'll give you 2 minutes with some thinking music to select the team you think is most deserving. And voting has now closed. And while we take a look at who has been selected from the audience, I'll explain that the finalist teams have already had their projects assessed by a team of industry experts led by Lawrence. The winner will be revealed in just under 2 weeks' time during our prefabAUS annual Smart Building Industry Awards. So, if you won't be there on the night, keep an eye on the Autodesk Challenge Cup showcase page on LinkedIn to find out which team the expert judges selected. Visit Autodesk Challenge Cup website or webpage at prefabAUS.org.au for more info and next year's challenge. And okay, now probably for what everybody's been waiting for, and the winner of the People's Choice Award is KinForge. Congratulations, well done everybody. Thank you to each of you, Puneet, Mackie and Asif, and also to Lawrence and Daniel for joining me here today. Thank you everybody, goodbye, and we'll see you next time.